Jesus is praying alone on the mountain, and the disciples are asleep. It is one of the most heartbreaking images in the entire Bible. The teacher kneels in the darkness, sweat like blood soaking through his clothes, while the people he loved most, the people he had lived with for 3 years, the people who had heard every word he taught, are lying down asleep, not because they did not love him, but because the flesh is heavier than the spirit on nights like that. And Jesus looks at them, then turns back to pray alone. The question is not, are you asleep? The question is, do you want to wake up? Many of us have learned how to pray like memorizing a song, the right melody, the right words, the right timing, but there is nothing inside. We lift beautiful words toward heaven, while our minds are thinking about tomorrow's work, the unresolved argument, the worries piled up like mountains, and then we wonder why heaven is silent. There is a man in the Bible I want you to look at, not in a church, not on a pulpit, in a prison cell, chains on his hands, a death sentence waiting at dawn. That was Peter, Acts chapter 12, and he was sleeping, on the final night before his execution. Many theologians call that faith. I call it a soul that had truly surrendered. But notice this, while Peter slept, the church stayed awake. They were praying, not politely, not by formula. The Bible uses the Greek word ektenos, meaning stretched out, continuous, like a rope pulled to its limit. They prayed as if someone's life depended on it, because it did depend on it, and the angel came. You see, the issue was never the posture of your prayer. The issue is who is praying, and what heart stands behind those words. But now I need you to understand this. There is an enemy, and he is not afraid of your prayers, if they are only habit. Satan is not afraid of your 5-minute prayer before sleep. He is not worried when you read familiar Bible verses without a drop of real emotion. He is even pleased when you feel like you are doing enough, while in reality you are only performing an empty ritual. What he fears is something completely different. He fears the moment you come before God and stop pretending. The moment you do not pray out of habit, not out of fear, not because you want to receive something, but because you need him the way lungs need air. That is the kind of prayer that moves mountains. In the Garden of Gethsemane, the night before the crucifixion, Jesus did not pray with beautiful words. He fell face down to the ground. Matthew writes that his sweat was like drops of blood falling down. He said, "Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me." This is the Son of God, and he was trembling. He did not come to the Father with strength. He came in complete brokenness, and that is exactly when the angel appeared to strengthen him. Luke 22:43. Heaven does not respond to perfection. Heaven responds to truth. And this is what Satan does not want you to know. In spiritual warfare, the most dangerous weapon is not bold declarations, not loud prayers, not perfect formulas. The most dangerous weapon is a heart that no longer hides anything before God. There is a morning in the Bible that few people pay attention to. After a sleepless night, after being arrested, tortured, and unjustly judged, Jesus carried the cross up the hill of Golgotha. He fell, not once, many times. His body was so exhausted that the Roman soldiers forced another man to carry it for him. And he did not pray with long words. On the cross, in unbearable agony, he simply said, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, my God, why have you forsaken me?" That is prayer. The truest prayer human history has ever witnessed. No theological system, no perfect structure, just the cry of a soul enduring the unbearable and still turning toward the Father. Jesus taught you this not through the Sermon on the Mount, but through his own broken body. Prayer is not performance. Prayer is where you bring everything broken inside you and lay it down at his feet, and he will not turn away. Let me ask you a question. In your life, is there anyone, just one person, around whom you do not need to pretend? You do not need to be perfect. You can stay silent without feeling uncomfortable. You can say the worst thing about yourself without fearing they will leave. If you have that person, you know how precious that relationship is. Now ask honestly, do you have that relationship with God? Or every time you come before him, are you still wearing the mask you wear before the world? Still trying to sound spiritual enough, repentant enough, worthy enough? This is the truth the Bible says from the first page to the last. You were never worthy, and that is not the point. Romans 5:8. But God demonstrates his own love toward us, in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Not after you fixed yourself, not when you became more worthy, while you were still a sinner, at the worst point of yourself. That was when he chose you. So why do you still come before him like someone apologizing for existing? So what does real prayer look like? Not ritual, not formula, not fixed schedules or mandatory postures. And I need to say this plainly, there are moments when God calls you beyond yourself. Do you know why 3 a.m. matters? Not because it is the devil's hour like people say, not because there is a magical number, but because 3 a.m. is the hour when everything you use to shield yourself, work, noise, screens, busyness, has been turned off. There is nowhere left to hide. Only you and silence, and a question you are too afraid to ask during the day. That is why many people in the Bible encountered God in their darkest nights. Jacob wrestled with God until dawn, and he walked away with a new name, a new destiny, but also with a wound on his hip that would stay with him for the rest of his life. Truly encountering God is not always comfortable, but it always changes you. So if tonight you wake up at 3 a.m., not because you set an alarm, but because something inside you will not let you sleep peacefully, do not grab your phone. Do not scroll. Do not force yourself back to sleep. Sit up. You do not need to kneel if you do not want to. You do not need perfect words. Just sit up and tell the truth. Lord, I am afraid. Lord, I do not understand why this is happening. Lord, I am exhausted and I no longer even know if anyone is listening to my prayers anymore. That is the beginning of real prayer. Because God does not need you to come to Him with strength. He needs you to come to Him with truth. Psalm 34:18. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Not the strong, not the perfect, the brokenhearted. And here is the miracle. When you truly come before God with all your broken pieces, you will discover that He was already there, already waiting. Not waiting for a better version of you, waiting for you exactly as you are right now. That is how real spiritual warfare is won, not by loud declarations, but by a small soul daring to come before a great God and no longer pretending. 3 o'clock in the morning, the room is still dark, but something is changing. Not the circumstances outside, not yet. But inside, in the deepest place no one can see, a whisper begins. You do not need to be strong, you only need to come. Maybe tonight you will not pray with powerful words. Maybe you will simply say, Lord, here I am, I no longer know how to pray, but I come. That is enough. Because He saw you before you spoke a single word. He loved you before you did anything. And He is here, not in a distant heaven, not behind a perfect ritual, but right beside you, in the darkness of this room, in the longest night of your life. John 11:35, Jesus wept, the shortest verse in the Bible, and the deepest. The God of the universe stood before the tomb of Lazarus, and He wept. Not because He did not know He was about to perform a miracle, but because He saw the pain of the people He loved, and that pain touched Him. Your pain touches Him. The question is not whether God hears. The question is, tonight do you dare to tell Him the truth? Try it, just once. No formulas, no performance, just you and Him. And see what happens when light meets the real darkness inside you. It will not go out. It will shine.